Hey everyone, I have a super exciting video today. I'm going to be talking about 10 of my favorite couples in romance books. Just ta-da! I've got a lot of books to go over today. Yeah, so I'm really excited and we are going to jump right in. First of all, let me say that I picked 10 couples out, but in no way is this list like in ordered. I don't have, this isn't like 10 to 1 or 1 to 10 or anything like that. This is just 10 of my favorite couples. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Yeah. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is Bram and Emily from Rosanna M. White's Worthy of Legend. Oh, I love these two so much. And honestly, this is one of my absolute favorite books, like, period. It's just so well done. And I mean, I could go into depth about why I love this book, but I'm not going to because we don't have time for that. We got 10 books to get through. Okay, so Bram and Emily. This is the third book in the Secrets of the Isle series. And I'm just going to say you have to read this series in order. This is not a series that can be taken out of order. It's not. So, this is a series all about a group of friends hunting treasure on the Isles of Scilly off the English coast. And this is the third book, so I can't really tell you about the events of the book because, they are directly related to the first two. That would be major spoilers. But all I can say is that there was a part in the first book where Bram and Emily interacted. And it was the only part of the book where they interacted. And really, she just it's a 1-minute scene. She gets knocked down. He helps her up and he whispers something in her ear. And we don't know what he whispered in her ear. He just said something. And that's all we see of them in the first book. But I remember reading that scene and I was like, they're going to be a couple. And I texted my best friend, Well-Read Wanderer, and who was reading through the first book at the same time. The first book is The Nature of a Lady. It's right here. That's the first book. So we were reading through it at the same time, and I texted her, and I was like, girl, Bram and Emily are going to be a couple, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait for their book. And she was like, Letty, we saw one interaction from them. And I was like, no, just trust me. Rosanna M. White would not have put that interaction in if we weren't supposed to pay attention to it. Because authors like this, they think about everything they put into their book. So if she put in something so specific like that detail, that's foreshadowing for the future. That's letting us know something for the future. And so I was like, and even then, even though that was the only interaction they have, I was like, I can see them together. I see it. I want to see it. I cannot wait. So when this came out as the third book, I was so excited for them. And it lived up to all my expectations and more. I absolutely love their romance. They work so well together. They make each other stronger. They are perfect together and they're amazing. I love them. In my top 10. For sure. The second book is Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sundin. And the couple in this book is Paul and Lucy. And oh my goodness. Ooh, they make me swoon. I love them. So this book takes place in Paris in 1940, right as the Germans take occupation. And Paul and Lucy are both Americans. America is not in the war right now, so technically, they're not being persecuted by the Germans or anything because, Germany wants, America on their side. The Allies want America on their side. So everybody's being nice to the Americans right now. But what happens is that Paul and Lucy both get involved in the resistance against the German occupation, but separately. They don't know each other at this time. They don't know about each other's involvement. So when they meet and start to fall in love, they don't have those details about each other. Lucy literally thinks he's a collaborator, and she's like, I cannot like this guy. He is working with the Germans. She has no idea that he's actually working against the Germans under the cover of working with the Germans, and the way their love story grows, especially with Paul's daughter, who is so cute, the cutest little girl who, I mean, she's like 4 years old. Like, she does not know the political layout of Paris at this time. All she knows is that friends they have turned away from them. Like, and Lucy is so nice to her. She's like, so, you know, the little girl really latches on to Lucy. And it's just the way their love story develops, and the way that even when they find out about each other's resistant work, they never give each other details because they're like, it's so dangerous. Like, giving you details could be putting you in danger. So they look out for each other. And that was one thing that I loved about this book. I remember when I read it for the first time, I was like, thank you. That is so realistic. I have read a lot of books about people who work in the resistance. And it's like, as soon as they fall in love with each other, they spill everything they're doing in the resistance. But I feel like this was a lot more realistic because they were like, you know, I'm an ally, but I can't tell you exactly what, because that's dangerous. And that puts everybody in my network in danger. It's not just you and me. So I love that they did that. And I just love their trust in each other in this book. I mean, they trusted each other fully. And it's fantastic. Their love is fantastic. I love them. Okay. The next book, and this one may be a little surprising. This is The Visitor by Lori Wick, but it's not the main couple that I love. The main couple is Alexander Tate and Cassie. And Alexander gets injured in a horse accident, and he goes temporarily blind. And his aunt asked Cassie to come and read to him during the day, during his recovery. So they're the main story. Like, Cassie literally is the visitor. Actually, Alexander is at one point too. But they're visitors. Anyway. But there's a secondary romance between Cassie's sister Lizzie and their longtime family friend Moreland. And they are my favorite. I love Lizzie and Moreland. Like, Lizzie has been in love with Moreland her entire life. And he goes off to Africa to explore with her brother. But then he comes back. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it. But they're the secondary love story in this book. And I wish they were the main love story. I wanted more of them. I love them so much. They're so sweet with each other. They've known each other pretty much their whole lives. So, like, they have this really in-depth knowledge of each other that a lot of other couples in books don't have. And Moreland is just so great with all of Lizzie's family because he grew up with them. Like, I mean, Cassie is like the youngest sister, and when she's having struggles with her romance, Moreland is like right there being an extra big brother, being like, I got you, like, lean on me. And that's just, like, he loves Lizzie, but then he adopted Lizzie's family too, and that's just amazing. I love Lizzie and Moreland. I wish they were the main couple in this book and not the secondary one, but okay. The next one is another Rosanna and White, On Wings of Devotion. And the couple in this, oh, they're so good. It's Arabelle and Camden, or Cam. So this is, On Wings of Devotion is probably my favorite Rosanna and White book, and Worthy of Legend is like my second favorite, but they are very close, very close. I love Cam and Arabelle. Cam is like a bad boy in a way. Like, it's very much that bad boy, good girl trope, but it's done right, let me tell ya. Because when you do that trope in like YA and stuff, it's always like the guy who's mean to everybody but soft with the girl, and then, you know, the girl is like into the rebellion or whatever. But no, this is done right. This is done like good girl, bad boy redemption arc. And I'm just like, I am here for it. This is the second book in the Codebreakers series. And again, with all of Rosanna White's series, you really need to read them in order. But this one is not exactly as, like, this series is not as intricately tied together as the Secret of the Isles series. So, like, if you read them out of order, you could very easily figure out what's going on, and it'd be okay. I wouldn't suggest it, but it'd be okay. Like, the Secrets of the Isles, don't read them out of order. This one, it'd be okay. Not great, but okay. But anyway. So, Cam, this is during World War I in London, and Cam is a pilot for the Royal Air Force, and he is stationed in England, he and his squadron, and they protect the coast of England. But there is an accident one day, and his entire squadron dies except for him. And he is blamed for the accident because he and one of his squadron members got into a fight before the accident, and he basically he was like, well, I'll kill you. And so when they all died, when he landed, he was charged with murder. And it's very clear from the beginning that he didn't purposely kill his squadron. Everybody in England believes he did, but we know as readers that he didn't. However, he still carries a lot of guilt for it because he feels like it's his fault. Because he is the one who came back alive, and he just feels like he didn't make the right decisions. So he feels like he killed them even if he didn't do it on purpose. So he is a very kind of dark, brooding character. He brings a lot of guilt. And, instead of facing a firing squad, he gets put into the code breaking division. So he's working on breaking codes. That's why he's still alive. Arabelle, on the other hand, is a nurse for one of the military hospitals. And she is so generous and so giving. Like, she has the heart of the Lord. And she sees him walking by under her window every day as he goes to work, and she can just tell that he has this dark cloud around him, and she is praying for him. And then when they actually meet, it's beautiful. It's like they are really friends to lovers, and it's just so amazing because when they meet, it has to do with her fiance and his sister. Stuff happens. She breaks up with her fiance, and Camden, because she is super, super rich, she is a super rich heiress. So as soon as she breaks up with her fiance, all the money grubbing men are at the door. And so Camden feels responsible for her because he kind of helped her break up with her fiance. I can't give spoilers, but he did. So he feels responsible for her. So he starts walking her home and starts hanging out with her dad and really being at her house a lot, simply because he's trying to keep the money grubbing men at bay, because he's the most hated man in England. So he's like, trust me, if you're around me, none of these men are gonna come after you. And so they kind of become friends with that situation, and then they fall in love. And what I love about this book is that she did not redeem him. God did. There are so many books, they're like the good girl, bad boy, that's oh, the girl changes this guy. No. Arabelle did not change Cam. God changed Cam. Arabelle was an example to Cam. And she loved him unconditionally, and she helped with that change, but it was all God. And I love them so, so much. They are one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely. Yeah. So the next book I have is The Heart's Charge by Karen Whitemeyer. This is book 2 in the Hanger's Horseman series, and as you can see from the cover, there's actually 2 storylines going on. There is Mark and there is Jonah. My favorite couple is Mark and Kate. They're amazing. They were in love as teenagers, but something happened and they were separated, and then Mark went out and joined the cavalry, and then he became a Hanger's Horseman. And Kate got involved with an orphanage ministry, and she runs an orphanage now. And then they're brought back together. They're amazing. Even with all the pain in the past, they're just so trusting of each other. They just admire each other so much. And not just, attraction-wise. They admire the work that each other does. Words. They're just really, really amazing, and I love them so, so much. And, the kids in this story make it all better. It's just, they're a great couple, and I can't say enough good things about them. So that's that. The next book we have is another Roseanna M. White. By the end of this video, you will know who my favorite author is. I'm just saying. This is A Lady Unrivaled by Roseanna M. White. It's book 3 in the Ladies of the Manor series, and it follows Lady Ella, who is the younger sister of the Duke of What is he the Duke of? He's a Duke. Anyway, I forget his dukely title. She is the younger sister of a Duke, and then there's Lord James Caton, who we just call Caton. He's an Earl. So again, like all the other Roseanne and White series, this is a series that you have to read from beginning to end because it follows a mystery around some red diamonds. So yeah, this is the third book, so we've gone on a whole trip with this mystery already, and this is kind of the conclusion of it. But I love Ella and Caton. This is really a Grumpy and Sunshine trope, for sure. Lady Ella is just so positive, and she just wants to help her family with this mystery so much. And Cam, he is a reformed bad boy in this book. We actually meet him in the very first book, and he's like not a likable character. Like, he's just a bad dude. But something happens in the second book which turns him around. His first wife dies, and it just turns him around. And in this book, we see him, after having gone through all these Bible studies, really trying to be a new man. And I love Caton's redemption arc so much. Like, the first book, like, I literally did not like this guy at all. But by the end of the series, he was my favorite character in the entire series. Like, I loved seeing how the Lord changed him and made him into such a good guy. And he is such a good guy in here. And, like, she is all sunshine. And he's, like, he just has so much darkness in his past that he's like, girl, you need to stay away from me because you are so innocent and so full of sunshine. And, like, I'm trying to be better now, but, like, I have all these dark edges in my past and you don't need that in your life. And she's like, please, I'm here to stay. Don't push me away. I love you. And they are so beautiful together. They complete each other absolutely. It's wonderful. I love them, and I will recommend them to anybody who asks. So, next we have another Sarah Sundin, and that's When Tides Turn. And this is Tess and Dan. And as you can see from the cover, Tess is a part of the Waves, which is in World War II. It was the U.S. Navy's women's division, so she works for them. And we meet her earlier in the series. This is the third book in the Waves of Freedom series. And we meet her earlier in the series, and she's really an airhead. She's kind of annoying. Like, she kind of manipulates her best friend in the first book and does something and lies to her best friend in a way that you're like, ugh, because it kind of keeps the main couple apart for a little bit. So yeah, didn't really like her in the first book, but we see her grow. By the third book, she's just done being an airhead, and she's like, I want to do something serious. I want to be taken seriously. So she joins the Waves. And she does so good. And Dan is a lieutenant in the Navy, but he is on the admiral track. Like, he is gonna be an admiral, and he's working so hard, and he's like, I don't need a woman in my life. I'm serious. I'm in the Navy. I'm a soldier. I'm great. And he's so serious, and she is so bubbly. And again, it's another kind of take on the Sunshine Grump trope, because she lightens him up, but she becomes serious on her own. She doesn't need him to become serious. Like, that's between her and the Lord. She becomes serious on her own. But what's great about him is that he always takes her seriously. Like, everybody looks at her and they're like, oh, she's just a bubbly blonde. Like, she's probably really dumb. And he learns to take her seriously. And that's what I loved about him. They balance each other is what they do. And I really, really appreciate that. Like, it was just really beautiful to see them balance each other in these books. All right. Somebody's mowing. The next book is another Karen Whitemeyer, and it's No Other Will Do. And the couple in this book is Emma and Malachi, or Em and Mal, as we call them. They're amazing. They meet as children. Mal, he loses his mother and father at a young age and becomes pretty much a street urchin on his own. But when some boxcar boys jump him and steal his winter coat and leave him in the snow to pretty much die, he finds a barn and he sneaks in there. He's 12 or 13. I think he's 13. No. Emma is 7, and I think they're about 3 years apart, so he might be 10. I don't know. Anyway, they're children. They're children. They're young. Anyway, so he sneaks into this barn and he tries to like warm up, and then she comes into the barn. She's 7, she's so cute, and he's like, oh my goodness, I prayed and the Lord sent me an angel, because he thinks she's an angel. And then she brings him some milk and stuff, and then she leaves and she comes back and she's like, good news, my aunt said I could keep you, because her parents died when she was young too, but she's raised by her aunts. And so her and her aunts take Mal in, and they pretty much raise him for a few years. And then when they're teenagers, something happens and Mal gets blamed for it and he gets kicked out of the town. But M is like, no, we're best friends, we're family, you have to at least write to me wherever you go. So that's like the prologue. And then we fast forward to chapter 1 when they are both adults. Mal is working as an explosive man for the railroad, so he uses dynamite and he blows stuff up. And Emma is running a women's colony, which is really awesome. But her women's colony is in danger. There are some outlaws threatening it. So she turns to the only person that she trusts, and that is Malachi. Sends him a telegram, and he comes in to help her. And I just love these two so much. Like, they are so in love, but neither of them want to admit it because there's just a lot of problems in the way. The main thing being that she lives in a women's colony, and he is not a woman. But they're both so intent on putting the other first. Like, there are just so many instances when they try to sacrifice for the other person, and their trust in each other, their devotion to each other, their love for each other just shines through each and every page, and I love them so much. Yeah, they're amazing. One of my favorites, definitely. There's that. So then we have another Rosanna M. White. Wonder who my favorite author is. This is Whispers from the Shadows, or Whispers from the Shadows. And the main character in this book is Gwen, and her love interest is Thad. So Gwen, this takes place during the War of 1812, and Gwen, in the very beginning, witnesses her father's murder and is sent to the Lanes in America. She's from England. And she witnesses her father's murder, and she's sent to the Lane house in America because her father is a character in the first book in the series. Oh, right. This is the second book in the Culper Ring series. Her father is, the first book in the series has a bit of a love triangle. The main girl in the first book is, it takes place in the American Revolution, and the main girl is courting a British soldier, which is her father in this book, but then she ends up marrying a patriot, Bennett Lane. And so, but they all become really good friends. So her dad, when he realizes that they're in danger, arranges for her to go hide with the Lanes in America. Right before she leaves, she witnesses her father's murder, and so she is running from memories as much as danger, and she is just clouded in darkness in this book. Like, she keeps reliving that moment. She's so scared that she can't tell anyone about it because she's literally scared that if she even speaks it, then this guy will know that she saw and will come after her. So Thad is the son of the Lanes from the first book, and it's really his house that they're all in. And he can just see that she's struggling with something, and he keeps feeling these nudges from the Lord saying, you got to take care of this girl needs you. And they're beautiful. Like, they're so good. I can't even put into words how much I love them. This was one of the Culper Ring series was the first Rosanna M. White series that I read, and this book is what made her my favorite author. Like, it's now, many years later, it's not my favorite Rosanna M. White book, but I still love it so much. It's still the book that really turned me on to this author, and they're one of my favorite couples, point blank. So yeah. So that's 9 books, and all of those books so far have been Christian fiction, but the last couple on my list is not Christian fiction. It is a classic, and it is Anne and Gilbert from the Anne of Green Gables series. I have this beautiful Puffin copy that's really pretty, but I also have a copy of the whole set, And I have to show you the whole set because Anne and Gilbert's love story grows through all of the books. Like, we start with them being like 10-year-olds and we grow until book 8 when their youngest daughter is an adult. Like, we see them literally through almost their entire lives. And it's really and if you have not read the Anne of Green Gables series, like, do it. I'm just saying, like, I was like 12 years old when I read the Anne of Green Gables series, and I was not much of a reader. I loved stories, and I loved being read to. Like, when we were little, my mom used to read to us chapter books in the evening. I loved that, so I always loved stories. But when I got to be about like 10, 11, 12, I didn't really read much myself because my older sister was a pretty big reader, and I was going through like a phase where I didn't want to be compared to her because everybody was like, oh, you're so-and-so's little sister, you're Amanda's little sister, you look like Amanda, you act like Amanda, you're going to grow up to be like Amanda. And I was like, at that point in my life, and first of all, my sister is an amazing person. Like, she's 5 years older than me, and if I'm like her when I am her age, I will be so happy. Like, she is definitely a role model to me now. But when at that age, between like 10 and 12, I wanted nothing to do with those comparisons. So I was like, well, Amanda reads, so I'm not going to read. But my mom took the Anne of Green Gables book, and she literally, I remember the day, she put it in my hand, and she was like, just get over your comparisons to Amanda. You need to read this book. You're going to love this book. And I did. I flew through that series, and I have not stopped reading since. So Anne of Green Gables is the series that got me on my reading fixation. And Anne and Gilbert, they are enemies to friends to lovers, and I love them so much. Gilbert Blythe is my all-time favorite literary hero. Like, now I love me some Jane Austen heroes, especially like Mr. Tilney and stuff, but, well, Mr. Knightley. Mr. Knightley is my favorite Jane Austen hero, and then Tilney. But none of them can ever compare to Gilbert Blythe in my mind. I'm sorry, Gilbert Blythe is just number one. He is so faithful to Anne from the first day he meets her. Like, he never even dates another girl, and she literally hates him when they're children. But he never dates another girl. Now, there is the whole thing when they were in college with Christine, but he literally says in the books, like, Christine and I were never together. Her brother just asked me to escort her around and keep an eye on her. Like, that's it. And so, yeah. He is, even when he doesn't think he'll get her, he's still true to her because he's like, these are my feelings, and I can't, go date another girl when I'm in love with Anne. Like, it just doesn't work. And he's just so faithful. And when they finally get together, it's just so beautiful. The way they look at each other, the way they talk to each other. And throughout their marriage, I mean, we literally see their kids grow up in like the last few books, like Rainbow Valley, Rilla of Ingleside, Anne of Ingleside. Like, we see their children grow up, and even from their children's eyes, you can tell that Anne and Gilbert are just so in love, and they're just amazing. I love them. They're like OTP for me, Anne and Gilbert. I also want to say a special shout out to their daughter Nan and and the preacher's son Jerry Blythe. We see a little tiny snippet of Anne and Jerry during Rilla of Ingleside, because Rilla of Ingleside is really about Rilla, the youngest daughter, but we do, and plus most of the men are away fighting in World War I at this time, so the romances are pretty slow burn. But we do see a little tiny snippet of the romance between Nan and Jerry, and I love them so much. Like, I've read a lot of Nan and Jerry fan fiction. Like, I'll put it right there. If it's clean fan fiction, I'm here for it, and they're so cute together. I love them, but not as much as I love Anne and Gilbert. So there you have it. Thank you for sticking with me through this video and for listening to me gush, because these were 10 of my top favorite romance couples. I want to know about your opinions, so let me down in the comments below. Let me know. Yeah. If you want to do this, like, for yourself, like if you have a booktube channel and you want to be like, hey, I want to do that video too, go ahead. I'd love to hear it. Let me know about it. All right. I will see you guys later.